What's up, boys? It's Jay, Keg, whatever you want to call me. I am back on my YouTube channel. Been away a very long time. I have not posted live on this channel in 2 years. I've been over at Run Pure Sports, grinding out content on our site over there. And we're going to switch it up a little bit. I still love that crew. I'm still going to continue to do pregame content for them, hopefully forever. But I'm also going to start to do pregame content back on my YouTube channel with some people that you guys will be familiar with, some people that you won't be familiar with. And starting September 1st, the live betting show will be back on this channel, the Kegcasts, and free, at least for the foreseeable future for now. So I'm really, really excited. We have literally NFL Sundays, Monday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football. NFL streams are around the corner. You guys know what we already do in NASCAR and UFC if you've been watching along for the last couple of years. And we're going to try to kill it, but we are back. So with that, let's break down this card. UFC Fight Night, main event. Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos start at the bottom. Subpar fight card. 4 female fights, all low-level women's MMA, and some big favorites that should get the job done in terms of men. So I think overall, definitely subpar fight card. But we'll start at the bottom. Myra Bueno Silva, Stephanie Edgar. If I was betting a side in this fight, it would probably be the dog in Bueno Silva. Fight feels like a coin flip to me. That's part of the reason why we do nothing now but bet split decision props on all low-level women's MMA fights, especially with the volatility in judging over the last 12 months. It's proven extremely profitable. There are 4 fights, females. I will be on the split prop in all 4 fights. If we get 1 home, we make money. If we get 2 home, it makes your whole night. But don't tilt if you go 0 for 4, because you're going to have those nights, and you're going to have those nights where you go 3 for 3. Luckily, there's a bunch of room for error when you're talking about lines that are 4 and 4.5 to 1. So, but if I was to bet a money line side in this fight, I would probably go with the dog here in Silva. But I won't, and it'll be a pass for me. Corey McKenna versus Miranda Granger. So Corey McKenna's game plan last time out to stand and bang for 2 rounds against Elise Reed was perplexing, mystifying, dumbfounding. She ended up getting takedowns late. She ended up winning a fight she had no business winning, but we got the split prop home at 4 to 1, which we'll take any day of the week. But her fighting IQ, and specifically the coaches in the corner that were telling her that she looked great on the feet against Reed. I'm hesitant to put my money on that corner and her in this fight, especially as a $2 favorite. We don't bet $2 favorites in women's MMA, especially low level, right? But Miranda Granger doesn't really impress me either. She comes in off about a 2-year layoff. I think she recently had a baby, but she looks relatively in shape. She was the betting favorite against Amanda Lemos. What a joke that was. And also Ashley Yoder, but she lost both fights. Didn't look very good at all. I don't really care who wins the fight. Hopefully we can get a greasy split at 4 to 1. I'll pick Corey McKenna because if she does try to get the takedowns, I think that she will end up getting them. But from a betting perspective, I'll be on the split prop and nothing else. Jason Witt, Josh Quinlan. So I can't take Jason Witt seriously in 2022. He could be knocked out by a summer breeze. He has been knocked out he's been knocked out a half dozen times, legitimately. 3 times in the last 6 fights. So I cannot trust somebody that can get planted in the flower bed in under 60 seconds. So it's already Quinlan or pass for me, right? And it's going to be Quinlan for me because the kid looks good. He looks like, if the tape translates against upper echelon talent, he looks like he could be a problem in the division, right? We won't know for a while, but he looks like he could be. He's explosive. He's got great speed in the pocket, and the kid can crack. There really isn't that much not to like about him so far. His ground game, I really didn't see much of. I think both those submissions are club and subs. But the odds open -200 on Quinlan, and they're about -245 now. I agree with the move. I mean, he's going to fight a guy that my 14-year-old daughter could knock out. So I think Quinlan finds the chin. That feels like the spot to me. I don't mind him at +110 by knockout. Aside from that, the fight is a pass. Terrence McKinney, Eric Gonzalez. I like Terrence McKinney a bunch. He is a legitimate prospect at 155 pounds. Now, I faded him last time out against Dober because I didn't think he was ready for that step up. But let's be honest, he had a very good showing. Drew Dober's blockhead chin is ridiculous. He had Dober hurt. He dropped him. But Dober's just incredibly tough, and he just bounces back up, and he's ready to go again. So he did not get the win, but it was a solid showing for especially a kid so young against somebody like Drew Dober. He's got power. His hands are lightning fast. Great footwork. He's got cardio. Decent fight IQ. A great submission grappling game. And a very underrated top control wrestling game. He drops down in class and takes on a kid that literally just got knocked out by Jim Miller in 2022. I'll wait. Let that sink in for a minute. Take that in. So, I looked at the tape. There isn't much to like about him. I mean, he's fought a decent level of competition, but he's got losses against Rafa Garcia, lost to Humberto Bandone, who are both on the roster. At least I think Humberto still is. Plus, anything that this kid does well, Terrence McKinney does much, much better. And that's why he opened a $4 favorite and is currently an $8.50 favorite. So you're going to have to get creative if you want to back him. And it's a fight that doesn't come without risk because he could just as probably easily knock him out as he can submit him. But you have to plant your flag. And for me, it's probably the knockout prop. You have the upside, obviously, on the feet of a meme KO. But I think he will take the fight to the ground and make relatively quick work, Eric Gonzalez, probably by just mashing the back of his head into the mat. So I think McKinney by knockout at +120 would be the way that I would look. Aside from that, I don't really see much here. Tyler, my guy. Tyler will forever be a member of the Sports Keg. You guys will see him on this channel again, often. Tyler says McKinney KO 1 or 2 +145 hammer time. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Your only worry is a submission, I think. I really do think that's your only worry. Your 14-year-old daughter could legit be top 10 strawweight. If we trained her wrestling, the power is already there. Yeah. All right. Brian battled Takashi Sato. Brian, so we have 2 fights on this card that are the finale for the Ultimate Fighter this season. A chick fight and a couple big boys, right? Brian Battle won, I think he won last year on the Ultimate Fighter. He won the finale. But this is going to be the first time that we actually see him against somebody from the UFC roster that was not on Tough. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the kid looks because I like his skill set. He's pretty solid. But it is worth noting that he's dropping down in weight for the first time to 170 pounds. And the reason that I was 5 minutes late to this stream was because I wanted to watch the weigh-ins really quick between the 2 UFC shows that I had to do today. So he looked really sucked out, man, on the scale. He did not look good at all, but he seemed relatively upbeat. But it's a concern. We can't lie about it. Him cutting down to 170 for the first time, looking how he looked on the scale, it's a concern for sure. But all in all, solid from range, good footwork, carries some power. I worry about his hand speed in the pocket because he's not that fast. And on the ground, good transitions. He could submit you when he finds openings. But I do think that his top control wrestling game needs a little bit of work. But again, I worry about the cardio. Takashi Sato, you guys are familiar with. We know what he is, right? He hadn't fought in a couple of years before taking that Gunnar Nelson fight. Looked exactly how he looked the 2 years prior. Can't stop anybody from taking him down at all. And he's KO or bust to me. He's always felt that way to me. He's only beaten 2 UFC level fighters. And if you can get him to the ground, he's dead. He's a dead duck. Nelson took him down to the ground at will in a fight where we had him by submission and he screwed us and he ended up winning by decision, which was brutal. But Sato is a good striker. He does carry real power for the weight class. He gives you an interesting look because he fights out of that karate stance that most people don't see. And he will have opportunities, I think, to touch Battle up, or at least try to touch him up before Battle tries to get this fight to the ground. But in saying that, I do think Battle's solid in his own right in the stand-up game, and he might still beat Sato in striking exchanges. I'm not sure. But you have to take Sato seriously on the feet for sure. So the odds open offshore, Battle minus 200. Right now sits around minus 280. I said this on the show earlier. You can make the argument that this line has now been inflated to the point where there is some value on Takashi Sato, especially when you consider how bad Brian Battle looked on the scale. Originally, my breakdown was going to be, I think Battle will win, probably by decision, because I don't think that he would finish Sato. Or I didn't mind the over 2.5 rounds, but I just couldn't lay $1.45. But man, in saying all that, Sato is like, that price isn't bad. That price isn't bad. If you told me you were taking a shot at the dog money, I wouldn't hate it. I'm going to pick Battle by decision, even though he didn't look great on the scale. But if you told me that you're on Sato, I don't hate it. Joey Work is here. My guy. All right. Sam Alvey. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I mean, Smiling Sam Alvey is a friend of the channel. One Joseph Work had him on our channel a long time ago. But How is Sam Alvey still on the roster in 2022? He won't be after this fight because it's the last fight of a 4-fight deal, and he should finally not get re-signed. But he hasn't won a fight since 2018, and he's fought 8 times since 2018. That's really, really bad, man. I said on the show I wouldn't bet Sam Alvey with my ex-money's money. But so obviously Sam Alvey is a total fade. I can't get involved. I can't do it. I can't get involved. I cannot do it. So it's Oleksiejczuk or pass, right? Now, it is the first time that Oleksiejczuk is fighting at 185 pounds, but I like the move because he was gassing out late in fights against much bigger guys. I think dropping down in weight will help him in the long run because he will be fighting guys that are more size appropriate for him, right? So I think that we probably see Oleksiejczuk do exactly what he did against Shamil Gamzatov. Walk Alvey down, have Alvey's back against the cage, and just try to put Smile and Sam away. And now the odds open offshore minus 330. Now he's like a $6 favorite, right? Okay. So the decision for me this week has been, do you take Oleksiejczuk by decision at like plus 170? Or do you take him by knockout at minus 110? Or maybe shoot your shot on the under 1.5 rounds at plus 135. So where I've landed is the KO prop, because historically one of Sam Alvey's best attributes has been his durability, right? But if you take a look at this recent run that he's on, it's all over but the crying for the durability. It doesn't exist anymore. Let's take a look. How many times has Smile and Sam been knocked out lately? Choked, split, choked, split, split, knockout, 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 split. So he actually hasn't, in terms of like actually getting knocked out, he hasn't been knocked out since like late 2019, although he has been getting finished. But he's moving down in weight also, really. He fought a large part of Sam's career was at 205, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to pick Oleksiejczuk to get it done. And his route of getting it done is knocking people the fuck out. So that's the route I'm going to take. Aside from that, this isn't Weasel, actual Weasel. Is this Weasel? The MMA YouTube channel Weasel? Fly high lesbian seagull. That's one of the fucking funniest. That's one of the funniest moments on the former show ever. Anyway, okay, back to it. Oh no, Jay, different picture. Okay. Ariane Lipsky, Priscilla Cachueta. So we're on the split prop, obviously, at 4.5 to 1. We already know that. There were 2 fighters that missed weight on this card. Sam Alvey, YOLO. He's not getting another deal. He doesn't give a fuck. He missed weight. And Lipsky, 3 pounds over. Actually, 2.5 pounds over. But surprising, because I've never really seen her miss weight before. But both these women are similar. They're both fighters that want to be on the feet the full 15 minutes. I would say that the former KSW champion, Ariane Lipski, is probably slightly more complete and well-rounded on the feet in terms of technique, the ability to bounce in and out of range, her willingness to strike long and manage range. But I would definitely give the power edge and forward movement to Cachoeira by a mile, right? So the odds open offshore, Lipski minus 180. And it really hasn't moved all that much. It's a tough one to call. But it's a tough one to call because I was going to lean Ariane Lipski. I'm going to stick with her, even though she missed weight by 2.5 pounds. I'm going to pick her to win the fight. But I'm on the split prop at plus 450. And to be honest, her missing weight probably helps the split prop, I think. So I'll be on her. I'm not on her, but I'll be on that prop. Augusto Sakai, Sergey Spivak. Sakai is a pass for me until he gets right. I can't back a guy off back-to-back-to-back knockout losses. He only had one loss going into the Overeem fight. He hit the ceiling. Loses to Overeem, Rosenstruck, Tuivasa. Now he comes into a matchup against an underrated Sergey Spivak. Now, Augusto Sakai will definitely be the better striker for as long as this is on the feet. For that, I have no doubt. The question is, will he be able to stay on his feet? I say no, because Overeem got him down multiple times. Granted, that was in rounds 3, 4, and 5 of that fight. But with all that said, Spivak's takedown game is way better than Overeem's. And I think that he should have success in the later part of round 1 from there on out. And if Spivak is going to win this fight, he's going to want takedowns early, because he is a phenomenal wrestler. His top control and his ground and pound game is sick. So the odds open offshore, Spivak minus 200. He currently sits minus 245. I was looking for reasons to back the dog coming into the week, but after how easy I thought that the takedown started coming for Overeem, and off back-to-back-to-back losses, I just can't do it. So the two angles that I think are the best in this fight are probably either Sergey Spivak by KO at plus 175, because there's a real path there after he gets Sakai down to the ground. The other angle is probably Spivak and the over 1.5 rounds plus 130, because I do think that he will finish the fight, but it could definitely come after 1.5 rounds. But aside from those two angles, there's not a whole lot I see right now. All right, first tough finale fight, Brogan Walker, Juliana Miller. I watched Brogan Walker's fights from Invicta, but I tried to base the majority of my handicap off of what I saw on the Tough Show. And when she's getting the fight that she wants, she's bouncing in and out of range behind her jab, and she's looking for that big right check hook off the counter. That's basically her entire game, or at least what she showed us on the show, right? But she does have a black belt in BJJ. We haven't really seen much of it, but she did have some good control in one fight against the cage, which was pretty solid. She's probably the more polished fighter, I think, right now at this stage in her career for sure. But I think the ceiling's a lot higher on Juliana Miller because I'm high on her. I know her striking is raw, but she throws punches and bunches, and her strikes are pretty accurate. And if she can get the fight to the ground, the kid has been grappling in tournaments for years. She's very good. She will find an opening and she can submit you. I like the girl. I don't know how good she's going to be, but she's really raw and there's a ton of room for improvement. The odds open offshore, Miller minus 135. Right now, she's about minus 120. I guess I agree with the line. It's a coin flip fight, which is part of the reason why I think this is our best shot to get the split prop home this week at plus 350. We can in other fights as well, but I think this has the best chance to get home. And it makes sense. It's a close fight, probably going to be a greasy split decision. But I'll side with Juliana Miller. She's raw, but she has more paths to victory, I think, in this fight. Aside from that, I am done with this one. All right, Muhammad Usman, Zach Pauga. Again, forget the records for both these guys. Neither of them have fought anybody worth their salt. I based my handicap off the tough tape and that alone. Looking at both these guys, neither of them have shown us anything on the ground. They want no part of anything on the ground. They basically just want to stand and bang. And if that's the case, one of these guys looks more evolved striking, in my opinion, at this point in their career, and it's Zach Pauga, right? Now, I do think that Muhammad Usman is a strong guy that cracks hard, and he's dangerous. He could definitely catch Pauga with a bomb for sure. Wouldn't shock me. But all things being equal, I lean that Pauga striking will win out. One thing, though, we have to remember on these Ultimate Fighter finale fights are these guys are fighting for their life. They're fighting for a UFC contract. They don't want to get finished. They are going to be cautious and try to secure this contract. They'll worry about impressing Dana White after they get the contract. And that can mean a very boring decision. That could definitely happen. Pauga by decision. I do think that Zach Pauga can find the chin of Usman and knock him out. Plus 200 isn't a bad price. But all things being equal, I think I'd rather just take my shot on either the fight goes the distance or sprinkle the split prop at 6.5 to 1 and stay away from that. In terms of a straight money line play, I think it's probably dog or pass, but I'm gonna pick Pauga by decision as far as the official angle, but I do think sprinkling the split decision prop at 6.5 to 1 is not a bad idea. All right, Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal. So anybody that's watched me recently and watched our live shows already knows where we're at. We've been on this for about a month. I like Jeff Neal. I don't think he's a bad fighter. I do think something's wrong with him. Don't know what, but something seems wrong with him. Dropped 2 of the last 3 against Wonderboy and Magny. Didn't even look right in a couple wins before that. My issue is he hasn't beaten anybody other than Bilal Muhammad. Like, take that win out of the equation for a minute and look at that resume. It's super thin, but he's a threat on the feet. His striking is clean. He's got solid footwork. He hops into the pocket, does his damage, gets back out. He has solid kicking game that's underrated. And when you fight him, you want to get inside the range of those kicks and live there. But he's very much a meat and potatoes guy, but it's really effective sometimes, right? Doesn't really have a ground game to speak of. but he's got solid takedown defense. I don't think he's a bad fighter. But I don't think that he's looked right, because even that last time out against Ponzi, that fight was a split decision win that could have easily gone the other way, in my opinion. So on the other side of the cage, Vicente Luque has looked phenomenal basically for 3 years straight, with the exception of the Bilal Muhammad fight. And he didn't look good in that fight. Why? Because the one weakness this guy has is his takedown defense. Muhammad, one of the best pure wrestlers in the division, he was able to secure takedowns. He was able to beat Vicente Luque. Okay. Jeff Neal is not a takedown threat. And the one guy I want my money on in a striking battle that's going to bite down on their mouthpiece in the pocket and try to take your head off is Vicente Luque. Because of that, I got on him at minus 140 with my whole crew. Gab, Johnny, Yeg, all of us. Minus 140. We gave that out on the show a month ago. Currently, the number is like minus 190 right now. So if you didn't get that minus 140 price, I think that your best option on how to get that number down is look at the alternative round prop overs on one of the women's fights this weekend and try to get that number back down to minus 140, minus 130. Aside from that, I think that's all you got. All right, main event. I'm trying to keep these down to like under an hour, because we normally go an hour every time I do this. All right, Thiago Santos, Jamal Hill. I said this on the show earlier today. Thiago Santos' career is like the Bible. After John Jones, before John Jones. The after John Jones version of Thiago Santos is broken. It sucks. It's not very good. That's just it. He's a striker that used to carry a ton of power and a ton of speed. Doesn't carry as much speed or as much power now, even though he still can crack. But his fight IQ and stamina was basically always on par with the division. His ground skills, we always knew they existed, but he rarely brings that tool out of the tool belt and uses it, right? He's just not a top-tier fighter anymore. And Jamal Hill is. He is the best prospect at 205 right now in the world. Because I'm not high on Magomed Ankalaev. I don't think that he's anywhere near as good as people think he is. I think Jamal Hill is the best prospect right now at 205 on earth. And on the feet, man, he's got just as much power. He's faster in the pocket. His speed is great. He's got a 60% takedown defense himself. I love this kid a ton. He came back well from that upset loss to Paul Craig with a couple wins, which is what you want to see from a young kid. And that's why he opened a minus 250 favorite in this spot. And since then, he's moved to minus 320. I just can't back Thiago Santos anymore. Most of all, when he's not going to have the striking advantage against a young, hungry prospect like Jamal Hill. So obviously, I'm not going to lay the money line. I am not going to throw the money line in parlays. I'm going to take his most likely path to victory, which is Hill by KO. And you can get that right now at FanDuel, I think, at like minus $1.35. I mean, that's not a bad price considering that he's going to have 25 minutes to work. I don't mind it. If you want to try to squeeze a little extra value out of it, you could take Hill to win the fight and the under 2.5 rounds at like minus 115. Personally, I'd rather just lay the minus 135 by KO. Because I don't see how Santos, if it stands up 25 minutes, doesn't get caught. I do think that there will be some spots for Hill that are going to be hairy, though, early too. But I think once he gets by there, it's probably smooth sailing for him. But that's it, boys. That's the whole card. First video back on the channel in about 2 years. I'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. Me, my guy Coop from Rum Pure Sports, who some of you won't know, but he is just as good a NASCAR mind as I am, and he's been betting a couple years, and he's really good for how long he's been doing it. So we'll be breaking down the whole race. Sunday's Cup race. We're at Michigan. Interesting track. Looking forward to talking about it. And that's really it. What about, is that an ant? Is that what about ant? Ant's no longer doing content with us for about 2 years now. So that ship has sailed, my friend. Yeah, Coop is great. There's literally nobody else I would rather do NASCAR content with on the planet than Coop. So, what about PFL, Joey says? Actually, Joe, I don't know if you have any PFL thoughts, but I had two. I kind of like Barboza, and I don't mind Silveria at all. But am I going to bet either of them tonight? Probably not. I'll probably just rest up, do that NASCAR show, and then tomorrow. Now, there is a live betting show, okay? But it's over at Rum Pure Sports for this month. It's $40 a month, and you get all our live betting shows that I do, all the Kegcasts, right? If you don't want to pay the $40 to come and hang out with us, then just wait until September 1st, and I'll be back. The live betting shows will be back on this channel and free for everybody. Sign Collectibles, who is a valued member of the community now. OAM decision, Wilkinson KO. I can get on board with the Wilkinson KO. I can't get on board with anything OAM. I know his record is good lately. I just can't do it. But tomorrow we'll be live for Kegcast subs at 3:30 for the NASCAR Xfinity race, and right on in to UFC Fight Night for the whole card. We're going to be live from 3:30 till probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then Sunday, again, 3 o'clock live to live bet the NASCAR Cup Series race. And football's around the corner, boys. Can't wait. I am back, bitch. I'll see you guys tonight at 9. Coop and I break it down. NASCAR, Firekeepers Casino 400. And aside from that, crush.